We are delighted that the school is back again this winter, and there's no better way to relaunch it than with the panel we have today and close friends and comrades, Tussal Mohammed, Mansoura Dafi, Jackie McMullen and Jazz McCann. We are always excited to have Mansoura back with us in solidarity, as I said, who spoke at last year's winter school to an absolutely packed theatre room in the Guantánamo on the Falls, with hundreds of people blown away by his story. So Garmargaret Mansoura for joining us again in Ireland. It is fitting that we have the inspiring Kind Economy with us, who are campaigning to lift the ban on asylum seekers from employment in a hostile working environment, here to provide us with the as ever amazing international food, particularly after the day-long fast that Irish hunger strikers and ex-prisoners organised yesterday, with thousands of people across Ireland taking part in solidarity with Palestine against the ongoing Israeli genocide of their people. I'm sure we'll hear a wee bit more about the fast today. Lastly, our winter school will be back on the Saturday, 25th of January, with a participative workshop and planning session on how we can practically take the next step to put into concrete our plans for United Ireland through the likes of a West Belfast Citizens Jury or whatever it may be. So we hope to see you all there to voice your vision and how we can do that. And I'll just now introduce our chair for today, Tussal Mohammed, and we're very thankful to Tussal for hosting us and chairing the discussion today. Tussal is a close friend of Glór na Móna's over the years and has been in basically every winter school until now and all the other festivals and political education programmes we are doing. Tussal is a human rights campaigner, particularly focused on activism around housing, asylum seekers' rights and so much more. And so we're so thankful to Tussal for organising and helping us with today's panel. So Garmargaret Tussal.
Assalamu alaikum, dear judge. Do you guys hate it when people speak broken Arabic? I know some European countries do. We love it when people try to speak Arabic and we help them, and everyone will be teaching you Arabic words and all. Thank you for joining us today in conversation with great people we have here in the panel. And I know it's going to be a difficult subject. Many people in the room have been in prisons before or have family members who were in prison before. So it's going to be difficult for everyone, maybe triggering even, but at least we have the solidarity with each other, and being in Guantánamo has always been a great pleasure for us, people in the asylum seeking and refugees community, and we feel the solidarity and we feel we are supported and all. We are going to start with readings from the two books. Ima is going to read from Mansour's book and Jazz is going to read from his book. So who is going to start first? Who wants to go first? Jazz?
Me first?
Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi guys. I need to give you a bit of background. I wasn't sure exactly what to read. There's so much to read. Yeah, you're really up to date with this book. And I decided I'll go for In Between the Hunger Strikes, because not a lot is known about it. First of all, I can say is we did everything we possibly could to avoid hunger strike, because we had a fair idea then that somebody would die of hunger strike. I mean, so basically we prepared to live in shit for 4 or 5 years to avoid that. There's very few resources at hand for a prisoner. We used everything we could. And then there was the hunger strike in 1980. And it didn't end the way we had hoped it would have ended. But there was promises there. It wasn't nailed down. And there was negotiation took place. And we felt a bit confident whenever Between the Hunger Strikes, Bobby was OC, and they were ferrying Bobby back and forward. So it was recognition first of all our structures, which is a big thing. I remember public recognition in front of all the screws and so on, because you're giving the minibuses and you're moving them about from block to block. So as he can contact the various, OCs or structures in other words, and that was all being recognised. So he felt, well, the fact that that's happening, that's good. And it was around Christmas, which is always good period for negotiations, goodwill, dare I say. But after a while, it didn't exist. The governor started treating Bobby, I would say, with disdain. And we felt very strong about that. When he's treating him with disdain, it's not just Bobby, it's all of us. Bobby's representing all of us. And we were annoyed then that Bobby actually was going to it. But the fact was, I think Bobby was under pressure from Taven Way outside to get something, get the clothes or something. Right? And therefore, we were being very flexible. Because I think Taven Way lost a bit of confidence in it because of what happened in the first hunger strike, which was understandable. What they didn't know was the strength of feeling within the H blocks that there was no chance at all of us ever getting there. And that couldn't have been stronger. And it was made all stronger too whenever the governor, obviously being told by the Brits how to deal with all that. And we actually got really, really angry because it almost felt as if Bobby was going with cap in hand to these people looking for something which was really ours in the first place anyway. But we weren't forbidding it, it was alright, we were entitled to it. And then again there was this plan that 2 wings would de-escalate the protest. And it was Bobby's wing and it was our wing. And the idea was that we would be moved into clean, furnished cells, and some of the lads, there was 10 picked out of each wing, would present themselves for educational work and also maintenance of them, which we do anyway, which was fine. So that all happened, we de-escalated, we moved into clean wings, the furnished wings, and then the relatives of the 10 guys in each 20 disposed told left up their clothes. But again, the administration were not interested, and we were really angry that we were being put through this because we had a fair idea it wasn't going to happen because of the way Bobby was treated. But I think team and we, that's outside, sorry, kept on pressure, get it over, because we couldn't understand exactly how we felt. So I'll take it up from there. So the prison authorities, that's the NIO and the Brits, could not have read the situation more wrong. They took our gestures of negotiating as a weakness. They smelled blood and went for the kill. They weren't interested in compromise or solutions. They wanted surrender. We weren't weak. We weren't on the point of surrender, and their actions actually served to strengthen our resolve. I doubt even if Taven Way could understand how faced with such adversity, the bond between the fair play of blanket men intensified. The Brit intransigence united us, removed all indecision, and made the decision for us hunger strike. Taven Way wanted us to get a face saver and have it done with the protest. If we had been offered our own clothes, the protest would have ended. I'm not quite sure we would have gone into I'm quite sure, we would have gone into various workshops, direct them to burn them, so on. Because we always had objectives. We knew where we wanted to go and we were never given up. The order came to smash the place up. We did it with relish. All the anger and frustration from the ending of the Stalk Uppers hunger strike came out on us as we went to town on their property. The wing was awash with banging and crashing and adrenaline-filled bodies shouting, screaming and cheering, smashing the furniture to smithereens, purging the undignified experience Bobby and ourselves had been subjected to. It was as if a giant had been awakened. It was invigorating, therapeutic. Our pride was restored. We were fighting back. Our message was clear. We would never be defeated. Bring it on. So, as the dust settled, there was nothing left to smash. The adrenaline receded, replaced by a foreboding. It wasn't long before the shout came that the riot squad was in. Grills banged, keys jingled, a lock shot, and the shouting began. My nerves were shattered as I waited my turn to be dragged out. And from the commotion, I knew this was going to be a rough one. 2 at a time they trailed us out, aiming kicks and punches as we were run up the wing. In the circle, we had to run a gauntlet of screws, well fired up, kitted out in riot gear, shields and batons in hand. Both Jerry and I managed to stay on our feet and evade most of the efforts to batter us. Some of the lads weren't so lucky and were dragged along the ground, leaving them easy targets for the blows. There were plenty of bruises, and while there were some suspected groans, miraculously, it turned out there were none. We were thrown into cells that had pools of water on the floor as they were still in the process of being cleaned. I was relieved that we had made it over in one piece, so I didn't care about the pools. We faced across the yard from the Yippie wing, and they had heard of the uproar, which I'm sure wasn't easy to listen to, and were anxious to discover if we were okay. We assured them we had made it through and hoped it wouldn't be long before we received our blankets and mattresses. Mattresses basically a lump sponge. It was winter and we'd only had a skimpy towel, and that was for modesty, nothing to do with protection from the cold. When the Yippies told us the rest of what had left, it dawned on us it was going to be a long night, as we were not going to get any of the bed. I was very tired, but I had to keep moving because to sit down was to freeze. Jerry and I spent the night jumping up and down and treading what little floor space was not covered with water. I was never so glad in all my life to hear the screws coming in duty that next morning. It signalled the end of an exhausting night and brought the prospect of receiving blankets. When the doors opened and they handed in the porridge, it was the most welcome meal ever, even beating the chips aside because we had kept a major and stall cockers when it ended. With every spoonful, I could feel my body defrosting. Following that, the blankets were thrown in, and I immediately buried myself in them. It felt really good, almost heavenly, as the warmth enveloped my body and I relaxed. Of course, it was too good to last. Within 20 minutes, the shout came, one shift. We were on the move again. We were loaded into vans and transported to Gate 6, where there was a reception committee waiting for us. One at a time we were taken in the ablutions area, where half a dozen screws, with expressions on their faces clearly signalling they were pumped up and were ready to get torn days on the pretext of going through a mirror search. And I'll leave the rest when it just gets through. See what happens next.
Yeah, I'll not say much about the book because Mom's here to do all the talking. But with Yaz reading his chapter, a lot of it goes hand in hand. Both struggles are very similar. You know, the brutality, the harsher the conditions, the stronger the resistance as well. So it was very inspiring to read this. So I'll just give it a wee go. We didn't start the fight the night we destroyed Oscar Block, and we hadn't planned on escaping either. After the raid for Romeo Block, the interrogators moved half of the red eyes to other blocks, leaving only 12 brothers in a block that held 36. We were the youngest of the red eyes, and the ones interrogators had labelled the worst of the worst. We had all been moved around a lot since Camp Delta opened, and this was the first time we were all together, only us on a block. It was Wada, Abdullah, Alami, Khalid, Saeed, Hamza, Amin, Yazir, Mana, Ali, Atman, Yusuf and me. A tribal code had brought us together. Respect for respect, shit for shit. We never started a fight, only joined when someone disrespected or harmed our brothers. We didn't have a leader and none of us gave the others orders. We all knew what was to do and just naturally worked well as a team. We knew something was wrong at the shift change that night. Instead of a regular shift from the Navy or Army, we got one made up of the worst guards from all over camp. Guards mean and nasty enough to have earned nicknames like Fat Ass and Lazy Rabbit. They started in on us right away. 242, Lazy Rabbit barked at Khalid. Do you want to eat? Yes, Khalid said. 242 refused. Lazy Rabbit barked. They put all our meals on the ground outside our cages and then 20 minutes later threw them all away in front of us. We couldn't fight every single time guards harassed us. If we did, we would have been fighting every minute of every day. We had our red line and the guards knew this. We decided to be quiet until after we finished our prayers. Then we would deal with the shitty shift. We prayed the last 2 prayers of the day, one time while the guards banged on our cell doors and mocked us. When we were done, we filled our sinks and soaped our floors. Wada asked for the watch commander so we could register a formal complaint about the meals. Lazy Rabbit refused to get him. We banged our cell doors. They turned off the water. Fast Turtle danced and down the block mocking us. We cursed them. They turned off the AC and ventilation. We baked in our cages and banged on the doors some more. They shot pepper spray into our cells and on the doors some more. We refused. They called the IRF teams. It was business as usual, but the IRF teams didn't come. That meant they would wait until later and come when they thought they were sleeping. Yazir was on hunger strike, and when the nurse came for his nightly checkup, we told him to leave with her. The guards had made it clear the night would be messy. When Yazir left his cell, the guards searched him in front of the nurse and pulled his genitals really hard. He hit the guard and they all kicked his ass bad. Now we were just 11. When we left, we yelled to each other through our doors to make a plan. All we had in our cells were our orange uniforms, thin plastic ISO mats, flip-flops, and some of us had one towel. Our plan was simple: destroy our cages from the inside. We'd never tried this before. Everything was made of steel welded together. But Abdullah had figured out how to make a better hammer than the ones we used during the Romeo riot. He told us to roll our flip-flops into a ball, then wrap them tightly with our shirt. Then he wrapped the ball in a towel, each layer making the ball bigger. Next he told us to tear our pants in half, put the ball inside one leg and roll it tightly into a bigger ball. Then we put that ball inside the other pant leg and tied it off. It was long enough to hold on and swing like a hammer. We dipped the ball in water and that made it even heavier. Now we were just in our shorts, but we had a hammer strong enough to break anything. The guards turned on the ventilation system again and put huge fans in the middle of the block to keep us from talking. It didn't matter, we had our hammers and our plan. Fast Turtle flickered the lights and laughed like a little boy. I had to close my eyes or I'd get sick. Finally, he got tired and turned them off completely, and that's when we got to work. We divided into 2 teams. The first distracted the guards by kicking the doors, while the second team hammered our sinks. Those poor babies didn't stand a chance. Abdullah's hammer was a beast. The guards were used to the sound of us kicking our doors, and that gave us cover for our real work. We kicked, we pounded, we jumped off our beds to land our hammers even harder. We beat the hell out of those sinks and finally they broke. Because the guards turned off the water, nothing happened when we pulled them from the wall. I pulled out pipes and pumps and scrap and threw them all over my cage. I sliced my hand badly, but I didn't care. I didn't even feel it. Mission accomplished, we sang. I went to work pounding through the ceiling fence to get at the lights. "Hi, sweetie," I said to the light fixture. "It's time to put you to sleep." All night long, we worked in our cages, with Lazy Rabbit and Fat Ass walking up and down the block, mocking us for being so loud in the dark. "Are you angry?" Lazy Rabbit cried. "Poor babies are hungry." "Go to sleep, kiddies," Fat Ass spit with a mouthful of tobacco. "Go to sleep so we can play tomorrow." "I've almost broken the toilet out of the ground," Abdullah called. "Wrap your towels around the sink and make a hammer out of it. Then jump off your bed and hammer the toilet." Then Abdullah discovered something that changed everything. Breaking the toilet from the floor would open up a big hole enough for him to go through. "We can escape," he called. "Allah Akbar," he cried. Sweating from all the work and no AC, I took a break and listened to the booms and bangs. It sounded like heavy-duty construction, but it was our song, a new rhythm for our block, and some of us even sang along. When Abdullah had almost finished his toilet, he talked about what we could do when we got out. One brother suggested we hide on the rackyard roof and cover ourselves with the green tarp. They could never think to look in there, he called out. Wada suggested we fight the guards with all the metal we had pulled out. Mana suggested we sneak out, and when the guards came to find us, go back to our cages. We knew there was no way we could actually escape from the camp. The most we could do was escape from our cages and maybe the block. We didn't want anyone to get hurt, and we didn't want to hurt anyone either. We just wanted to show Miller that he couldn't cage us, even with the strongest American steel. Our plan was to break all our toilets by the time the guards usually settled down to sleep for a couple of hours. We could finish breaking the toilets, rest for a little, pretend we were sleeping, and then escape. "I'm done, brothers," Abdullah called. "Let's go." The rest of us needed more time. Finishing the job wasn't easy. The cut in my hand was deep and bleeding a lot. My cage covered in blood. I ripped up my towel and wrapped my hand, but it quickly bled through. I kept working, holding my hammer in the other hand and jumping off my bed onto the toilet with just one leg, keeping weight off my broken ankle. Nothing could stop me. "We have to go out together," Wada called. Are we sure about this?" Ali called. "One of us could get killed." He was always cautious, brother, thinking and planning ahead. "Let us at least try," I called. It would be a shame in the history of this hell if nobody tried to escape. Abdullah was quiet. We thought he was just resting. We continued working on our toilets. Then all of a sudden we heard the guards shouting. "Code Black, Oscar Block," guards called. "Code Black, the TNA's escaping. Repeat, the TNA's escaping." We celebrated and congratulated each other. We danced and laughed. August, shit. I'll leave it there.
So my turn now. Yeah, it's a lot more worries. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all and welcome you all to this event. Speak up. Where is your microphone, man? So I would like to start with a piece from my lovely country from Yemen. I'm sure there's Yemenis here. Anyone from Yemen? No? I'm hopeful so. So, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يا هلا ومرحبا أرحب حياكم الله. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا مليون. This is Yemeni greetings, and my friend here who knows how to drive motorcycle really good, he didn't give like an Irish greetings. I'd like to hear that. So just please don't not be just don't be on the bike with him. Trust me. With this, first, we remember our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and please don't forget them. And I love the Irish people; they never forget them. And also congratulate our brothers and sisters in Syria. So now let's fly to Guantánamo to give a brief introduction, right? Yeah, I have this. I get this a gift. In Yemen we have something called Samim, which is a special staff for fighting. So I get this today. So imagine someone like a former Guantánamo detainee as a troublemaker gets something like that. I would like to thank you all for being here today. I would like to thank Karen, his wife, his family. I'd like to thank Queen University for inviting me, and I'd like to thank Fiona Lieden. She is the former new router who is the one actually whom I'm here today. Also, I'd like to thank my sister Khadija Muno. She's jealous I'm here. She has been very helping and support to all former Guantanamo prisoners. Hey, thank you so much. And I guess I want to say these words. And also, I'd like to sing a song from Guantanamo. What do you think? Would you like to hear a song? Yeah. Then we can talk about the story. So the song is حبا حبا باللي جا والله يا مرحبا باللي جا حبا حبا باللي جا والله يا مرحبا باللي جا. And that song is a song of Guantanamo, a song of resistance and survival and challenging at Guantanamo. That song has a special place and memories in our hearts, in our life. And sometimes we still, even when someone joined the WhatsApp group, we would send a welcoming group in the WhatsApp group for the Guantanamo prisoners. That song in Guantanamo, whenever they would bring a new group of prisoners to Guantánamo. It was a long journey, around for 40 hours, beating, chained, shackled, blindfolded, gagged. And when they moved us to Camp Delta, whenever there was a new group, there will be cease movement. I mean, no move at all. You cannot stand, you cannot talk, total silence. And we were very oblivious to that. And we could hear the helicopters. You know, like, big deal. The Americans like to have this kind of like movies. Terrorists, the worst of the worst. So we would keep quiet, not to talk to the government, to cause any troubles, being compliant. The moment when we start hearing the rattling chain, when the brothers start walking, then we will start singing. 300, 250 people, one song, one time. حبا حبا باللي جاء والله يا مرحبا. Now we keep repeating that over and over again. Imagine you heard these people, 300 people song one song loud. This was like a thunder, scary, honestly. And the brothers who actually just arrived, when they heard that, they said, "Well, those guys in summer camp, they are like enjoying themselves. They're singing." Because they were voted guys in education. Like, we couldn't wait to come to join you guys. But that's disappointed. They will end up in cages like us. It was a way to assure them that everything was fine. It wasn't fine, but sometimes people hated it. But it was horrible. With that, I will leave the conversation to my friend here, psychology, motorcycle biker or whatever. That's it. So.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question. Thank you, Mansoor. I can't believe how you are still so cheerful after all you have been through. And it's always amazing.
You have to believe it because we were not allowed to break us. So basically,
yeah, it's amazing that people, after all this, keeps of hope and keep resisting. And I'm sure we'll hear all about this with you and Jackie today. I first wanted to ask Jackie, because you have just completed the 24-hour fast for Palestine, and you were one of the main organizers behind this. So could you please tell us how this came about?
Yes, there's a group in Nina and Tipperary who have been running this fast for the best part of the year, 220 odd days. And my wife, Leisha, who is a Palestinian activist or an activist on behalf of Palestine, she had come across this on Facebook and suggested that I should volunteer for it. And so I'm blaming her. I mentioned a couple of friends who thought it was a great idea. So 4 of us who were former prisoners in the Hate Blacks, 4 days in a row we did the fast. Then one of them suggested that we should try to recruit 1,000 people across the island to participate in the fast and to raise funds and awareness. I accepted that this is only one protest amongst many, and people have been protesting since last year, coming out in their thousands. So, and we started organising that along with the Nina Friends of Palestine, and we got over 1,500 people volunteering to participate in the fast for 24 hours and to raise money. And the money is still coming in. So far, I think we've something like £100,000 raised. Again, it's a drop in the ocean. Small sacrifice that those 1,500 people made and the people who made donations compared to what the people in Palestine are enduring and have been enduring, not only this past year, but this past 76 years. So that's it in a nutshell. I have to say that I've been overwhelmed by the response of people. You know, there's a woman who's 101 years old who participated in the fast. We've had young people, you know, as young as 14. We've had families, all ages, all religions and none, all political persuasions. It has been a very powerful, unifying experience, I feel. And we've had people across the world, you know, some people know about a group in Chiapas in Mexico who participated. So we had over 100 people across Europe, different countries in Europe. I have a brother in Corsica, he got 6 or 7 people there. The volunteer people in Australia, in the USA, England, across the world really. But the bulk of them, the vast majority of them, in Ireland. And I have to say, I have to single out West Belfast, where I'm from myself, and that I'm particularly proud of. West Belfast, unbelievable. You know, West Belfast must be the most pro-Palestinian constituency outside of Palestine. So.
Well, it has been amazing and it got a lot of attention, many people participated. And you just talked about how it unified the group. Do you know that fasting, because it's major in our cultures, and in Sufi culture specifically, they always talk about how when you starve the body, then the soul rises, and that's how people get unified and you feel other people's struggles, not just yours. So yeah, thank you for doing that. Mansoor,
Yes.
you also took part in the fast when you heard about it.
I
So
treated with coffee and
how is it important? What's the importance of supporting the people of Palestine for you now?
well, you know, it's not about us, it's about us all. You know, seeing this genocide killing every single day, children, men, women, and so on. And this is the least we can do to support them to keep doing this over and over again, and until it stopped. You know, until it stopped, and it kills us every single day. You know, I have never been so depressed, felt pain, crying when I watch. Where is your mic? So watch people there, you know, watch the slaughter, the killing every single day. That has been really, really difficult. I can tell you, I can take the pain. But seeing that every single day, and I'm able to do anything, that also was painful. And when I come to here, to last year and this year, I saw that people give me and inspire me courage, and I feel at least I could do something. Where I live in Serbia, there was not a single protest. And people just move on their life. So thank you so much for doing this, and this will show that we are humans. We have power to start to change things, to make things. Even the small thing another action could take to another action that could result in eventually something positive.
Thank you. Jazz, do you want to say something about the fasting? Did you take part in it?
I didn't, I couldn't. I don't really like saying this, but I couldn't for medical reasons. I had a heart attack 18 months ago, and the medication I'm on, you have to eat. I get injected and so on, so I couldn't do it. Plus, we booked as well. But I was out protesting last night on Guantánamo. Can I just take it away from that for 1 minute? Because there's something I want to say.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's very interesting reading and listening to that reading. And you can see the common threads between our struggle and your struggle, basically prisoner struggle, and it's all about resistance. We're political prisoners, so we're always resisting. And you know, the things that were ingenuity, you know, how the flip-flops puts them up in the water and so on. And that was similar in our situation, where we were always looking ways of communicating. The idea of the hitch block situation, you took it away from the cages where we're all together. So we want to have to break them up and isolate them, contain them. And then we had to find ways of breaking that down. Communicating was so important. And then you had things like possibly something else about shooting lines. You know, you talked about the swingers, you know, swinging from one place to another. We had the swingers at the start. And then we were able to communicate the whole way up and down the line. And we made lines from bits of tar and so on. I put a button on it and flicked it across the wing to the other side of the wing. So So then you had a line of communication system there. So we're all in communication. We pass things the whole way about. And then, of course, put the grills up on the windows, or what used to be windows. So we couldn't do the swinging anymore, couldn't put your arm out. And then what we did was, we got a bit of paper, actually, they give you a sheet or a paper, old grease paper, and we'd fold it up in these small parts, you push it through the grill. But you would tie a string on the end, a bit like a parachute, and you blow it through it, and you blow it off, and then the wind would catch it. And then the next cell would do the same, and then you would have a line joined, because you always look ways to have to keep the communication. And then another thing was small victories was another thing as well. You had to have these victories. And even if you managed to smuggle in the tobacco and then using all of those lines which we just talking about, which took half the day, but not doing anything else. And then sitting back and smoking, you felt, beat the system here. It was so good, so relaxing having that cigarette. It wasn't just the thing of the cigarette, it was the fact that you beat the system. Again, the small victories are so important. And escapes, obviously. Wasn't much about escapes, obviously, during our protest period. But once the protest finished, that was what people's measure. Escape, and all sorts of things. Yeah, of course, about the big escape nearly through in. Things should have happened after. We're always looking for escape. And that kept you going as well. Once you passed it, those things kept you going. The thought of working on planning escape, getting those small victories and resisting so on, improve conditions all the time, kept going so on. So as I said, just wanted to mention that you could see, the common threads. And hopefully it didn't shortchange you in this because it's 4 or 5 pages right now, I read about 4.5 pages. If you ever wanted to read on, was no problem with a couple of things going down. But anyway, sorry, I don't want to take away from Palestine.
I wanted to ask Jackie too, because you were imprisoned and were involved in protest while inside, and that was during some of the most significant periods, including the hunger strike, and you participated in the hunger strike. So I wanted to know if when you were doing that, then did you think of the significance of it, not just to people in Ireland, but around the world?
We were always conscious of the support that we had from around the world. We didn't have we didn't have televisions, obviously, we were kept to cell with no clothes. We had 3 blankets, that's how it became known as the blanket protest. We didn't have radios. The prison authorities tried to block us out from getting any news, particularly any news of support. But something that hasn't been mentioned, you hear a lot about the prisoners. Prisoners' families were a big part of it, were unbelievable. Particularly, I have to say, the mothers of prisoners, again, unbelievable. And the mothers, sisters, who used to come up on the monthly visits and smuggle in tobacco, communications, what have you. And those women were fearless. They organised themselves outside, relatives actions committees, I think, which for the most part were women. And they were brilliant, and it must have been heartbreaking for them coming up to see their sons talking about. Now there was women in Armagh jail as well, just the same for them. In the state that we would have been in, where we were skeletal, long hair, with no wash, all the rest, we got 1 visit per month. And it would have been, I'd have been sitting here, my relatives, sisters, usually across the table, and there'd be a screw sitting there watching to make sure that nothing passed. But things did pass every single time, I have to say. But my sisters must have been terrified, because there were the searches and that they were given. So, in terms of internationally, yeah, we were aware that there was support for us across Europe and the USA, etc., etc. It was always great to know the amount of support that we had. There's one, when I was thinking about this earlier, just to jump forward a bit, whenever you were on hunger strike, I think after 21 days or something, you were moved up to the prison hospital. They didn't want you to be in the blacks, and that was like prison hospital. That's where the 10 men who died in the hunger strike died. So that was the last stage. But I remember being up in the prison hospital. This came into my head a couple of hours ago when I was thinking about this. Haven't thought about it in maybe 15, 20 years. But the prison hospital was like an upgrade in certain ways. You know, you get 2 visits a week instead of 1 per month. You were allowed to smoke. You were allowed cigarettes. But the cigarettes were taken out of it wasn't called a cell, it was called a room. You know? You came out at night. But I remember a prison officer up there, couldn't remember his name at the start, but I remember it now. You call him Jerry Calvert. Don't know if he's alive or dead, but if any of you's ever run into him, I hope you remember this. I remember him sitting beside my bed and telling me that when Tom Michael Lee, who was one of the hunger strikers who died, had been in the same room that I was now occupying, he knew, he said, Tom Michael Lee had been smoking at night when he wasn't supposed to be smoking. He says, and I searched and searched and searched and searched to find. He says, I knew he had a flint, you know, to get light. I knew it was there somewhere. And he says, I searched the place up and down. And I sat down, and then I thought, yeah. Okay. And he went to the drawer. Tom Michael, we had a pen, and the flint was hidden in the pen. And he got the pen, and got the flint. And I'm thinking, that fucking guy is sitting here boasting to me about it because he thought it was an achievement, and he thought that I would, you know, somehow share in that achievement, you know, say, well done, you know. But, you know, I don't know why it came back to me today, but it did come back to me today, and I suppose it's an indication of the different mentalities, you know. He thought that he had done something great, you know, and he was actually boasting about it. Not only boasting about it, but boasting about it to me. So, just thought I would share that with you, in case you do meet him.
The striker now, part of the strata.
48 years.
48 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go collect it.
Right.
See you later. See you later.
Yeah, it's amazing all the ways people use to smuggle stuff and to support prisoners inside. We have heard a lot of stories in Sudan too about women, moms and sisters bringing stuff to prisoners and getting communication and information about prisoners inside, and then all the support they will give to each other outside, and the families of the, I think, the same all over the world. And our Syrian brothers here were telling me about stories from Syria too, from prisoners, and I'm sure we will hear from them later, maybe when we open first floor. I wanted to ask Mansour too, because in your book you reference the Irish hunger strikers, and I wanted to ask what was the understanding within the prisoners in Guantánamo of the Irish hunger strikers, and did you get any inspiration from them?
Well, first, before talking about the hunger strike, let's talk about Guantánamo. As you know, that Guantánamo was created in 2002 outside of the legal system, outside of our humanity, outside of the international law. Around 800 men and children were taken, kidnapped, tortured, imprisoned without trial charges. So Guantánamo actually is not a prison. You know, in a prison there is a prison system, there's rules, there is like a course, there is a trial, there's lawyers. But Guantánamo wasn't like that. Guantánamo is a dark hole inside, built within the U.S. Naval Station, a military base in Cuba. After the United States, or the government of the United States in 2001 declared a global war on terror, CIA started what they call rendition operation, bringing people to Guantanamo from around the world. So manipulation and terminology of the language, which is rendition, actually kidnapping people. Around 800 million children, the youngest was 3 months old, the oldest was 105 years old. Some of them were taken to the black sites in different countries. And Amnesty International confirmed 19 black sites, but there are more than that. In the black sites, also where the CIA established a torture program, they call it enhanced interrogation techniques. It's actually a torture program. Again, it's the language. So I was in the black site. Many of the prisoners also were in the black sites. The worst and the most tortured prisoners in the CIA history, Abu Zubaydah, Palestinian prisoner. Yet he's still in Guantanamo. He spent from 2002 to 2006 in different countries in the black sites, including Romania, Poland, and Lithuania. So a CIA contracted 2 psychologists who developed that program on Abu Zubaydah, and I strongly advise you to Google Abu Zubaydah, the forever prisoner. He's still in Guantanamo. After 15 or 20 years, they found out, one, he's not a terrorist. He has no connection to Al-Qaeda, no Taliban whatsoever. And they classified him as a forever prisoner. Means they are not going to try to charge him, and also they are not going to release him because what they have done to him. So in Guantanamo, totally a place that totally disconnected from the rest of the world. You have no rights. Geneva Convention doesn't apply. American Constitution law doesn't apply. International law does not apply. When you were taken there, as you know, the George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, they said these terrorists, the worst of the worst, vicious killers. I don't know if they're here. What do you do? So, arriving at Guantanamo, that the journey itself was a way to break you, to torture to the breaking point. So when you arrive there, you will be forced to sit in your knees for hours and hours. Taken to the process station. It's a torture station, but they call it the process station. Then immediately to the interrogation room. We will be interrogated for days by FBI, CIA, MI, military intelligence, Homeland Security, NSA, other groups. When we arrived at Camp X-ray, we were beating, swollen faces, bruises, bleeding, shaved. When I looked, there was like an ocean of orange suit. We weren't allowed to talk, we weren't allowed to stand, we weren't allowed to pray. We weren't allowed to talk to the class, we weren't allowed to do anything. And also the treatment. What was the desecration of the religion, as Muslims will take it that seriously. And that was done in Kandahar prison, other places was part of the interrogation techniques. And one day, it was too much, we started, what's going on there? What would happen to us? And remember, 50 nationalities, more than 20 languages spoken. People have no shared life. They were brought from different parts of the world. So there was barriers. I didn't know you, I didn't know him, how we communicate. And when they beat one of the brothers while he was praying, that we just started shouting, yelling at the guards, splashing water to the floor. And we haven't started fighting directly with the guards because they started beating us really bad. Especially with me, I was refusing to follow the instructions. So when we arrived at the cages, they brought like flip-flops, cups, water container, and others. So, and every 30 minutes, 25 minutes, they would come wake you up. Detaining 441, wake up. And you have to keep rearranging this stuff. It's like sleep deprivation. I did the first time, the second time, I said, no, I'm not doing it. For me, it didn't make any sense. I was only 19 years old. My brother, Danish brother, he said, Mansour, please, let me so you are 10. I said, no, I'm not doing it. He says, well, you get feeding, as an example. So, when we reacted, we start talking about what should we do. We're in a place, we had no idea that we were in Guantanamo until 3 months later. And the brother started, I was talking too much, honestly. And we told, do this, do that. So we started talking about fighting, you know, try to escape. And some people also like sabr ihtisam, mean do nothing. You have to have submission to God, wherever, but, you know, it doesn't work that way. And a brother said, well, we want hunger strike. What does it mean, even hunger strike? He said, well, these the Irish guys, you know, did it in Ireland, and other brothers, they died. And I said, oh, we want to die. And another brother, he said, no, that's Islamically forbidden, because in Islam you are forbidden to harm yourself, anything. And also, okay, what should we do now? We start talking, keep talking, and you know, nothing happened. Arabs, we talk too much. We have Afghanis, you have Pakistanis, you have people just listening to those Arab crazy. So, second morning, I have a young prisoner from Tishad, and Yusuf, he was beaten, humiliated bad. Second day, he refused to take his food. Yusuf, what is like hunger strike? As Yemeni, you know, I haven't decided, but you are not eating, I'm not eating with you. It's kind of like, that's automatically, this is how we raised up, this is the way, it's not something. So other brother, Yusuf Shihri, other brother said, okay, we're not eating, we are not eating. So by the end, we have almost like 9, the second day 20, then 25, then like 8. Then we have to something. The camp administration, literally, the second day, an army Marines captain came with the Islamic fatwa that what you do is forbidden, it's haram, you cannot do that, you cannot do hunger strike. It is those infidels. The Americans said that. And I said, you know what, we are going to do it now, it hurts you. So after 9 days, it was tough the first day. I said, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking. I'm like, that went there. One day I couldn't, it was so hot, it was like over 100 degrees. So the second day, a Danish brother said, Mansour, please drink water. Okay, just for you. I was like, I want to drink water. So this is how we come with the Irish hunger strike and inspire us, you know. Then one of the generals of Guantánamo, Mike Leonard, he was nice. He wanted to treat us like as prisoners of war, but it wasn't up to him. And he came and he talked to us and he said, well, you know, the situation isn't war, it's the White House. So that's what the first act. It gives us some kind of victory. It gives us that we can share things, even small things. So they start some of the things they did, but that general himself, they took him off from Guantanamo, and the situation even got worse. I don't want to take more time, but in short words, when General Jeffrey Miller, and I'm sure many of you know him or heard about him, General Jeffrey Miller, the war criminal who started, or who is the architect of Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, he started at Guantanamo. And when he arrived at Guantanamo, he was the one who started the torture program approved by Donald Rumsfeld. He was the one who started or wrote the camp SOP, Standard Operation Procedure. We call it like shit on paper as prisoners. And he was the one who started, you know, create this kind of group, GTA Joint Task Force. And I advise you to read the report published by Seton Hall Law School, how Guantanamo was turned by the Pentagon into an experimenting lab on prisoners. The research by psychologists, by lawyers, by even former officers in Guantanamo. The title is Guantanamo, America's Battle Lab. How they started developing this kind of torture program, interrogation techniques, a study on the prisoners. They divide the camp into different camps. Each camp has different such rules under the supervision of psychologists, advisors, and consultants. That's the truth about, also reality, some of the truth about Guantanamo, which is the most secretive prison in the world and the most expensive one. Annual cost to keep the prison operational is $440 million a year. And the cost of our humanity, of course. Until today, nobody knows exactly how many prisoners were in Guantanamo. Nobody knows exactly how many people died at Guantanamo. All we know that around 800 men, the youngest prisoner was a child, 3 months old, the oldest was 105 years old. So I will leave you because I'm got stuck.
Thank you. I have been listening to your book this week, also, and it's mostly sad, and I was in tears most of the times. But I also laughed a lot, and I think in both books you will find lots of examples of the human spirit triumphing against all the oppression in these prisons, and particularly dark humor in both of them. So I just wanted to ask, this question is for both of you, whichever wants to go first. Wanted to ask you how this helped you to survive prison.
Yeah, absolutely. Morale.
You asked the Irish guy. Almost humor people as Irish. Like, even in their toilet, they're like the humor everywhere.
Morale was the biggest weapon that we had. You know, people say to me, you know, how did you do that? Those such a length of time, etc., etc. My memories of jail are mostly good. Some of the best laughs I've ever had in my life were from jail. And just another quick example. Before the escape was going to happen on the Sunday. For some reason, the screws came in on the Wednesday, decided to move my cellmate and I to another block, to a working block, conforming block. We refused to move, and we were brought to the boards, the punishment block. So long story short, like a kangaroo court, we knew, that's us, we're not getting out the escape, even though we knew that the escape in 1983 was going to succeed. A few days before, we were moved away and put on the punishment block. The prison governor, the oldest kangaroo court, prison governor, my friend, John Pickering, who's still my closest friend to the day, he went in before me. And then I was brought in and they're charged with an offence against prison discipline. You refused to obey an order, blah, blah, blah. And the governor said to me, McMullen, your friend Pickering seems to think that I'm some sort of puppet of the British state. Well, let me tell you, blah, blah, blah. And to me, you know, that's it. I said, brilliant. Pickles, you know, because I knew that he had put in with all guns blazing, you know. And Governor thought that he was putting us in our place, but he was actually Pickles' friend was actually putting them in the place. And I never forget that, you know. He went in defiant, and that's what the way we all should be, defiant and resistant to the end. So it was a big lesson for me.
Well, sense of humor, you know. At the beginning, we would take it seriously, like serious, talking to each other, with the guards reacting. Then we found out we were hurting ourselves, and we thought, like, if we're going to do it that way, we need to take smoothly and easily. And with the time, you know, the guard who were brought to sent to Guantánamo, they were told these guys that the worst of the worst, vicious killers. They were afraid of us. When we sit in the first place, you can see their hate in their faces, but also their fear. So that was, we enjoyed like teasing them all the time. So one of the things we did, we started taking things easy, developing a sense of humor. And one day, I remember we started like doing this stuff. There was a general Egyptian woman. The guards, whatever the guards say, you have to follow the guards order. You get beating or you get punishment, discipline, or food, whatsoever. And we have one of the brothers, we call him the general, Libyan, Omar. So one of the brothers was walking in the cage, and you could see that because it's metal cages, because Kamtata was made of shipping containers. Just they cut those walls and replaced it with meshes. So the cell was bought, and the guard said, "Hey, detainee, you cannot walk. Stand. You're handcuffed." And he came to the wrong block. General Lillard came to walk, and Omar told him, "Hey, I need to talk to you about these orders and so on." He didn't even look at him. And Omar said, "Guys, move!" And the brothers moved over the fence like a beast, yelling, shouting like, biting the fences and looking at the guards. It was scary, to be honest with you. It was, you have this kind of zombies. Every single one jumping, shouting, yelling. It was something we never done in our life. And you can see the people with the beard, like. And he went back to the general went back to Rome. We were scared in the guard, we were laughing at each other. So he said, what's going on here? He said, well, you have orders and we have our orders. So then we started later on nicknames, the guards nicknaming each other. We had nicknames for each other. I remember one day, Romeo Blood, I was beating the real and we have one of the brothers, Hamza, Mafia. I mean, real Mafia. I mean, he had killed people before Guantánamo. And they were afraid of him. Hamza, the guards won't even mess with him, ever. Because in his file, that man is a killer. Tall, Tunisian, deep voice. And Romeo Blood, we have, of course, something, the battle, the pants battle. They strip us naked and took the clothes. We fought until the end. That day when I moved, my face was really bad, swelling and pepper spray. I was walking like that. I said, Brother Mansour, it is your ass or your face? So, we were laughing each other. So one of the things also, like, we were hiding also our pain and tears in order, because when someone gets involved, that hurts. But with the time, honestly, we would take things easily. Like Khalid, for example, when we were on force feeding, they put us in a row and they would keep listening and watching. And Khalid told the nurse, excuse me, she said, can you have Pepsi? Not to drink. He said, no, it's in the bottle. Khalid, he said, well, I just need Pepsi. Sorry. Because he had Pepsi on the bottle during the first feeding on hunger strike, not to drink. And that's one of the most funny things in Guantánamo. I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't drink it, you're only going to test it. He just like this, I missed Pepsi and I need to have Pepsi. So there's a lot of that. It was a way to become a way to survive, to become our behavior. Even now we send each other photos, pictures, jokes. It was an instinct to survive at the prison, and even my character now become part of my life.
I'm aware we're running late, I think, and many people want to go collect kids from school. But I think we will open for the floor for a few minutes if people have questions.
Can I say a few things before we start? Is that right?
Sure.
First of all, what kept us going? Bobby Sands summed it up in his poem. It's the thought it says I'm right. That was clear. It was the best and the worst of days in the Hitchcocks. The best in the world of the comradeship is something I've never experienced before. The black humour, they have the black humour too. I can never forget one day. It was the worst of all winter shifts ever. We're all battered and bruised. It was really, really bad. And I'm sure everybody was like, just lying in the corner, absolutely wrecked. And the wind was quiet. And I always remember Joe McDonald getting up and shouting out, there's going to be bad days for these good ones. And that humour just lifted the whole wing out, lifted up the whole wing again. You know, and he always did it, I always knew when to come in. But you know, when you're through the worst, there was a culture there. And I think, the protesting blocks dragged in the worst of the screws. Screws, you know, who were being loyalists and haters and so on, you know. And maybe just haters, you know. Because that culture of violence, torture, of millions, it was all there. Everything they could do, they did it. And the thing is, they got away with it. Because we just took it on the chin. Because we were Republicans, you refused to recognise court, you don't get involved, you know, and their legal side of things, and they knew that too. And they knew they could do whatever the hell they wanted us, and they didn't come back. Everything. Tampering with food. Reducing rations. I'm not going to say some of the things I found out later because the OC wouldn't tell us what they were doing with the food because they wouldn't have had it. Hosing was a big one. Now, you know, I'm talking about the high powered hoses, the ones that the barbecues, you know. And you know, it was knocking you off your feet and completely soaking on your mattress and blankets and so on. The beatings, you know, are obvious ones. Even simple things like putting the lights on at night, switching them off, and then keeping you awake at night and bothering your doors, with buttons. They did everything they could. And as I said, I think even some of them, because it was a culture, felt that they had to do it, because if they didn't do it, they would stand out and they would get abuse from the rest of the schools, because it was a culture, And I don't think they were strong enough to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. And I have to say, there was a very, very rare one who would have said something humane. And even a simple thing, I always remember the water council, and he said to me, do you want your head on or off? What? Didn't believe it. I'm sure he got abuse for it, over doing simple things like that, humane things. But then, what struck me as well, my big day was 1983, the escape. It was absolutely fantastic, because having been through all that, and then not just, it was the fact that there was the military precision of it, the professionalism of the whole escape was just brilliant. We controlled that block for an hour, and we had them screws, a lot of them screws who were involved in all those things. And do you know what? We treated them humanely. We were completely different. Whenever they were stripping them off their uniforms, they let them put on ponchos, cover themselves up, to give them water and so on. Try to settle them, because whenever you were asking for their names, how to get their names, the kids' phone calls. Some of them could hardly talk, because if people knew what they were at, they probably think, oh, my day has come, right? So I was really, really proud that we were so professional, humane, and that we were nothing afraid. It was an opportunity in our system, so we're here for one thing, we're here to escape, never mind retribution, we're going to escape. So I was really proud.
Thank you for sharing that. Flor, any questions, comments?
Just, where do you get your book? Where's the book?
Where's the book?
Yeah, is it?
You can get it in, we'll get it on Amazon, but here on Amazon UK. You can get it down in Ishok, beside the centre. I didn't want to bring books in. I have a few books in the car if anybody's.
There's also very limited supplies of Monsters book about the film as well. It's going to be purchased.
And you had the cover on as well.
Just another thing. Jerry, do you know how many vigils were held this year? Your Hunger for Justice campaign? Do you know many?
I think, Tommy, it was over 20, I think it might have been 30. Now, there was 6 or 7 in Belfast. The one that you held, I think, was the best. It was brilliant. There was a few of them in Belfast. Big one outside Colony House as well. But the one in Springfield was
That's right throughout Ireland. I was just
yeah, I think 30 throughout Ireland. And then the people over at Mexico did something too, outside that chapel that they were talking about.
أنا لم أفهم من الترجمة بداية، ولكن أنتم كنتم
بتكلم في جمل قصيرة وخلي صاحبها تترجم لك كويس. نتكلم مضيف خليها تترجم لك. اسمك مين أنت؟
أنا من سوريا.
هاني.
إبراهيم.
Hani is going to speak in Arabic and Suhaila is going to translate.
إبراهيم.
إبراهيم.
أنا بدي أتحدث. أنتم كنتم تتحدثون عن السجون، ولكن ذكرتم معاناة السجون في غوانتانامو، وذكرتم معاناة السجون في جميع البلدان. أنا أتحدث عن 3 سجون في سوريا. بداية هو سجن أبو عمشة الآن في المحرر. من ذهب إلى سجن أبو عمشة ما يرجع طيب.
إبراهيم أجيب ترجم.
So you were guys later talking about the jails, and you just only talk about Guantánamo. Now I'm going to talk about 3 jails in Syria. The first one is Abu Amsha, and that one that whenever you get inside, you're not going to go like in a good condition.
يعني مجرد شبهة، إنسان يكون مجرد عليه شبهة في سوريا الآن في المحرر وليس في عند بشار. يعني أنا علي شبهة، ذهبوا بي إلى التحقيق في سجن أبو عمشة. أنا عندي حالات موثقة على اليوتيوب، كثير من الحالات قتل، يعني يجيبونه مقتول. هاي أول سجن.
So the first one is Abu Amsha, as you mentioned, and whenever in Syria they want, they take you inside that jail, they will just, some of the cases they came like they killed them. And they will just take you for to ask you some questions, and they don't even have the full right to take you in the jail, but they do. And when they take you out, they will be dead.
ثاني سجن هو سجن العقاب في إذلب، كان تحت سيطرة بما يسمى تحرير الشام.
Okay, the second one is the عقاد.
العقاب هذا السجن من ذهب إليه من خرج منه مولود ومن ذهب إليه مفقود. لا نعرف ما هي التهمة التي توجه إلى هذا الشخص ويذهب إلى هذا السجن. فقط إن دخل سجن العقاب في سوريا عند جماعات تحرير الشام لن يخرج نهائيا، وإذا خرج يخرج يعني فاقد لأشياء كثيرة.
So the second one is the عقاب, it's also in Syria. That one also, when you get in, you will never go out, and if you did, you will go out with losing a lot of things.
بالإضافة إلى آخر سجن الذي هو يعني سجن صيدنايا الذي رأيناه كلياتنا يعني جميعا رأيناه على التلفزيون. يعني يكون الشخص في مكبس بشري 40 طن، مكبس هيدراليكي، هذا يضغط على الإنسان على السجين وهو حي حتى يتصفى السوائل منه، وآخر شيء يأخذونه إلى حفرة يوجد فيها الأسيد كي يذيب ما تبقى من جثته.
So the last one is Sunday 9, the one that we saw it like lately in the social media. So that one, it's like the worst one in Syria, and they do have like a very hard torture ways to deal with the people in the jail. And he was describing that how they put the person between two iron. How can I say that?
It's like a grinder thing.
Two iron grinders, and then they would just take all the blood, the water thing from your squeezing. Yeah.
بالإضافة إلى هناك مناشير هي تستخدم عادة، هذا المنشار يستخدم لقص الخشب، ففي سجن صيدنايا استخدموه لقص الإنسان وهو حي، يعني يقصون أطرافه، يقصون أعضاءه التناسلية بداية، يقصون رأسه، يقصون من جسمه قطعة كي يرى عذابه وهو على قيد الحياة قبل أن يموت.
Also, one of the torture ways that in Sanganan they use saws to cut the humans while they are alive, and you can't you can see that while they're cutting you and you're still alive until you just pass away or you will die.
بالإضافة مثلا إذا كان مثلا خرج شخص مع عائلته فأخذوا العائلة ابنته مهما كانت سنها، كان 10 9 7 8 وزوجته، يقوم باغتصاب البنت الصغيرة حتى وإذا كانت طفلة واغتصاب زوجته أمام هذا الرجل. بالإضافة أيضا مثلا في سجون في منطقة حلب وجدوا أكثر من 40 جثة لأطفال قد أخذت أحشائهم، مثلا يباع أعضائهم مثل الكلاوي وغيرها والغير.
Okay, also in Sanganan, if they impress a family, so they rape the women in the family, the daughters, the wife, and in one of the prisons also in Syria, they take like the functional body from the kids.
دقيقة بس يا إبراهيم. Sorry, I have to interrupt Ibrahim here because Jackie needs to leave. Do you want to say something before you leave, Jackie?
No. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening to this slide.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's your wife.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Spekt.
Yeah, you want to say something? No, it's fine.
What do you want to say about the prison system of injustice around the world, in Syria, in Gaza, in Saudi Arabia, in many places, even in the United States, in Chicago, we have lots of programs. Of course, we have seen what's been our brothers and sisters in Syria. In fact, there is some of the Syrian brothers in Guantánamo, and they told us a lot about the torture and the abuses in Syria. In Jordan, our brothers actually were former Guantanamo prisoners were taken to the flat sites there. So for us, we need to stand, we need to speak out, we need to fight to bring these stories to life and fight for justice, fight for human rights. Because human rights is not granted to you, you have to fight for your right. So, like this event, media, writing, speaking out. What I'd like to add something about the Guantanamo case, because today there are 30 million men at Guantanamo, 16 have been released, 3 forever prisoner, and I don't think this Guantanamo is going to be closed anytime soon. As you know, Trump in 2019, he suggested that undocumented migrants should be classified as enemy combatant and sent to Guantanamo. And now one of his plans to deport all the undocumented migrants, around 20 million. That means more Guantanamos, more abuses, and so on. In the end, I would like to thank you all. And please keep fighting for Gaza, pray for our brothers and sisters in Syria, Yemen, and Guantanamo, and elsewhere. Thank you so much.